Hi, everybody. I am super glad to be here. I'm going to take a moment and invite some of my friends in. For those of you who don't know me, I am Aisha Adams. I am the founder of Aisha Adams Media and Equity Over Everything. And I am coming to you today because I have a word, I have a message. So I'm inviting those of you who are within my community in to hear me. I've been doing this series for a while now, and I'm really enjoying it. I get a lot of good feedback, phone calls, commentary, and I do think that it's helpful. So let me know in the comments how you feel. But I also urge you to share this video. Like, share this with your friends and your community, those who might be interested in learning more perspective from people of color, or particularly Black people, because I'm a Black person, of course. So I always start these videos off by reminding you all that I am just one person. These are my opinions, my musings, my nappy thoughts. And so it's not that every single person is going to agree with me or feel the way that I feel, but I'm trying my best to keep the communication open and to share as much as possible, because I feel that there is power in conversation and power in exchanging ideas. And so because I am in community with my white friends and I love them, it's easier for me to speak like this instead of one-to-one situation. So it's just easier for me, and so this is what I do. So this is for my white friends, people who are in community with me, and people who care to listen. So it has been pretty tough around here lately with everything that's been going on, and we've faced a lot together as a community. We've gone through a lot, we've shared a lot, we've lost a lot, and we've gained a lot as a community. And I'm seeing or getting a lot more phone calls from my white friends who are feeling sympathetic, who want to reach out, who want to make a difference. And I'm super excited to be in community with you. And I just want to pose some ideas to you today to get you thinking and to see where you are with this. And I'd really like for us to really open up the conversation and the dialogue. So, number one, I think a lot of this, I can't sleep at night, I really need to do something, I have an urge to do something. I want to go ahead and say, like, it sounds like guilt. You may have heard of white guilt before, you may not have, but it's like carrying the guilt of generations of oppression within who you are, based on what your father did or your grandfather did, or what you allowed, or when you were in your privilege and really fully didn't understand what was going on and what was happening. You experienced this overwhelming guilt. And I just want to let you know that your guilt is a privilege. And I want you to understand that, not as something being disrespectful, but I just want to put it in perspective. Like, I don't have time to wallow in my guilt. I have to forgive myself and move on for survival. And so should you. So it doesn't mean that you don't have to do deep work. And we're going to go into what that deep work may look like. But there are a lot of you that are just feeling super guilty. And so when you do that, it's a privilege to feel guilty. And so what I mean by that is, Black and brown people are trying to survive. Like, we are literally trying to go against policies and procedures that are eliminating us, that are killing us. And so we don't have the privilege to rest in that guilt and to deal in that work. And that is something that you have to deal with alone. And I don't have an answer for that guilt. it's like I see it and I feel it, and I don't know how to help you ease that guilt, but I'm pretty sure that it's not my responsibility. And so I would just say to you, like, before you reach out and say that you want to go into, another person's community, healed people heal people. So I think it's really important that you start to do the work to heal yourself so that you don't feel the guilt and the shame, and you don't bring that into newly formed relationships. I think it's just like dating or anything else. You know what I'm saying? And so a lot of times your guilt is the motivation for why you're moving forward, right? Like your guilt is why you need to volunteer. It's why you need to donate. It's why. And so you need to really think about your values, your morals, and your principles, and allowing yourself to figure out what is guilt and then what is like more than guilt. You know what I'm saying? What is like the strong urge to change. And so I want to just share with you a couple other things. Like, I think a lot of people who feel that guilt then believe that they must give us plenty of handouts. Well, we got to give out this free ticket, or we need to make sure this is this, or we need to do this one thing here, or we're going to set aside these monies for Black people this one time. And unfortunately, while that is nice, I love the Black fist on the city building, and that's really nice. That will not end racism. And so we want to be careful that we understand that Black people aren't asking for handouts. We're not really asking for donations, although we accept donations just like any other, organization or people. But we're saying, like, we want policies to change. We want to make it easier for us to obtain those things on our own so that we don't need a handout. And so if your guilt is causing you to hand out, instead of change policy, right? Then that's some internal work that you need to do, right? Because it's not about how much money you can give out. It's about when you're sitting at the table and it's time to influence, who are you influencing? And so I see that guilt, and I'm getting a lot of phone calls like, hey, Aisha, I really want to get into community, and I really want to, share my skills. And the thing about it is, you can't fix the Black community with your skills. What you can do is use your own influence within your own communities to find out why Black people aren't at the table, right? Like, you don't need to come into Black communities and meet Black people to do the right thing. Because where the policies are being changed, we probably don't have a seat at the table anyway, and that's a part of the problem. I am seeing so many people wanting to infiltrate into communities and lend their services. If you have an all-white community, start there. There's the problem. If everybody is in your community is white and you need to reach out in order to connect to people who are Black, people who are brown, then that means that there's something wrong with the inside of your organization, and that's where you need to do the work, right? So, for example, yes, deeply, COVID is happening. Maybe you know someone who is a trained teacher. A trained teacher in her community should know students of color to help, right? If you are a lawyer and you have a law firm, and you don't know how to help Black people, it's in your recruitment, it's in your marketing, it's in the messaging that you put out. And so that's the racism, right? If you're not connecting to communities of color, it's in the DNA and the systems of how you do things. And calling me, I can't connect you and fix that for you. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, that's something that you have to fix in yourself. You have to attract all types of people because you're equitable, right? Like, it's not like I can just be like, hey, all my, Black friends, here's Susie. And Susie, here's all my Black friends. Like, it doesn't work that way. And so what you have to do is look into your own organizations, look into your own systems, and find out, why aren't there Black people at the table? Why is it that if you guys are a group of lawyers who want to help Black people, why haven't you been helping Black people? Of all the people who need lawyers, why aren't they calling you? What's in your marketing plan? What's in your recruitment plan where you don't have black coworkers? That's where you end racism, right? It's not going to be in the symbolic gestures of posting Black Lives Matter on windows. It's not going to be in the beautiful art that we see. It's not going to be in the one thing that you do because you're a good person. It's going to be in the policy changes. It's going to be like when it's legal to be black. It's going to be like when a white couple and a black couple go buy a house, that white person feels comfortable letting the black person take the lead because she knows that that loan isn't going to be done wrong because it's a black person, right? It's the structures, right? And so I need help sometimes. I'm not saying don't help individuals. I don't want that to be the message, but I just want you to understand that your work is to be done where you have your influence. Your work is to be done in the communities that you already frequent. If you are in an all-white space, your work is to ask, why is this space all white, and what can we do as a community to make it a safe space that cultivates equity, diversity, and inclusivity, not just for black people, but for all people, right? And how do we hold ourselves accountable and to ensure that we don't go back into this again? That's your work, right? Not to volunteer at the black shelter. That's not your work, right? If you're not already working in shelters. Like, your work is to take your career, your influence, the work that you've done, your name, your letters, and use it to move equity forward, to advance it. And the way that you do that is through policy changes. So it may seem like that's, and I want to say rule changes, because I want to make sure that when I'm saying policy changes, I'm not just talking about systemic racism happening in like government. I mean, at school, the rules have to change. In your jobs, the rules have to change. The rules have to be written in a way that they're inclusive for everybody. And so when I say policies, I'm also talking about the rules. And so I think that is really important. And I feel like that is something that may not have been said or that may not be understood. But those are two big things that I needed to say. Like, I needed to share that with you because I think it's super important. So I'm going to repeat those two things before I head on off here. So the first thing I said was, guilt is a privilege. And so when you have guilt, you bring that into every situation that you're bringing it into, right? And when you do that, what I'm seeing is two things. It's like, one, a lot of handouts and a lot of symbolic things that are happening because people want us to know that they care. But I want you to know that that won't fix racism. Again, the only thing that's going to fix racism is rewriting policy and changing rules, and so they're equitable for everybody. And that if you are a doctor and if you are pushing for diversity, equity, inclusivity, it happens at the hospital, right? It doesn't happen by coming into our community. It happens by you pushing for us to have access to that hospital and those treatments and supplies, right? If you are a lawyer, it's about not trying some new types of cases, but like using your influence to find lawyers who have been doing this work and lifting them up through the channels that you know about and using that to push and advance equity. It is not about coming into communities and taking over. You need to meet people naturally. You need to connect with them deeply. It's not going to be a one-hit, one-shot situation. Relationships take time and patience and effort. Relationships are smooth and bumpy and curvy. And so like this, just connect me to black people, it ain't going to work. You know what I'm saying? It has to be deep and it has to be thoughtful. And that urge is guilt. And it's something that needs to be dealt with on a spiritual level, on an energetic level. Because you don't have to feel guilty. yes, everything that has happened has been wrong and it has been bad. But again, in a time of survival, in a time of a pandemic, in a time where, they said more people than ever didn't pay their mortgage in July, like nobody has time for your guilt. Right now, we need you to push equity forward, push people forward, push communities forward by being the brilliant, strong individuals you are. I hope that I made some sense. Let me know in the comments. I've really been thinking a lot about this and wanting to share. Like, a lot of times I think people just feel guilty and they're not ready to change systematic racism just yet. They're just kind of wallowing in their own guilt. And so I just want to encourage you to know that that is a part of the healing process, and that healing isn't linear, and that might be where you are. And if it is, that's okay. Just remember that hurt people, and heal people, heal people. And so until you are healed, it might be best for you to work on you. If you still have spaces that you are trying to find, like if your everyday life does not consist of people of color, that is your work to do. That is your work to do. It's up to you to find out, like, why is this my life? Am I soaked in privilege? Am I oppressed? Like, what is it about my life that allows me, that I've created this reality for me? I've created this reality for myself where I live this life where there are no, people of color, or there are no black people. I think it's like, I love y'all. I just can't connect all of y'all. I think it's important for you to just realize that your work is to be done in your community. If you feel that black people aren't being treated fairly in your community, start there. I'm going to leave on a Mother Teresa quote. I never thought that I would be like the type of person that would like literally share out Mother Teresa quotes, but hey. I read this Mother Teresa quote that says, when you heal your family, you heal the world. So you got to start with yourself, and you got to start with your family and your own community. And so instead of trying to reach out across communities, like, just try to get yourself together. Like, just try to make sure, like, your own policies aren't racist. Like, you can't come over into my community and help us untangle things and your shit tangled up. You got to untangle it first, okay? I love you. And I want to tell you that a lot of how to do some of these things, like, how do I recruit more black people? How do I write policies that aren't racist? How do I start the diversity, equity, and inclusivity conversations? A lot of those things that I'm putting up, I recognize that a lot of you guys don't know much about. That's why we've developed the Lenore Ryan Diversity Equity Institute. And we are going to be launching it really, really, really soon. I'm super excited. The instructors are excited. I can tell many of you are excited. And so we'll be reaching out very soon about that. And a lot of those things that we talked about, you can learn there. From there, the learning can't stop, and you have to keep pushing yourself forward and moving forward. So I am offering those courses to you. I appreciate your phone calls. Your phone calls help me figure out what I should be saying. It helps me understand where we are in the conversation. And it helps me know, like, you guys aren't tired of me being here. So when you send me a message or, you inbox me, it encourages me to keep coming forward. Because, again, I always have to tell you guys, this is a very brave space to be in. Because at any moment, I feel that I could say something or, mention something that could be extremely mischaracterized or to be used or seen as a weapon. So it's always like, as a black woman, we have been oppressed to the point where we have to hold our words and really think about what we say before we say them. And so I've had a lot of practice with that, but it's still very dangerous. It's dangerous to be a black woman and to speak your mind. So this is not always easy for me, but it is something that I just felt like I needed to say, because I see a lot of people that are ready. They are ready to come into the black community. They want to know what they can do. And I'm like, but your husband is racist. Like, can you start with your husband? Can you just start with him? Right? Like, you're teaching your son to be racist. Like, start there. Okay, be in your social clubs are racist. Like, if you just start in the places that you're really comfortable, I promise you it will be a lot easier for you, and that your work will be seen and felt, and your influence will grow. I think that's what I'm trying to say. So I'm here, I'm sharing. I can't wait to read your comments. As you know, I'm really trying to move this over to the YouTube page, but for some reason I'm still coming here. But if you're missing this, you can definitely catch it over on YouTube. Definitely share it with a friend. Let me know in the comments, like, were you tracking what I'm saying? Are you feeling white guilt? Yeah, tell me your thoughts. I can't wait to hear.